Hello all and welcome to this Q&A session. So I'm Anthony, I'm the career doctor, and we've put together this session for you because there have been a lot of questions from various doctors from all around the world about some of the videos that I've been producing about things that you need to consider when contemplating coming to Australia to work as a doctor. And so probably about halfway through a series of videos around some of those issues, and I didn't want to leave too many people hanging in relation to some of the questions that are being asked. So tonight's live stream is an attempt to answer some of those questions that you may have about the process. Firstly, starting off with some of the questions that have already been posted on places like on YouTube, and some of our Facebook support groups, some of the comments on some of the videos when I posted them on Facebook and also in Reddit. We will also have time for a general question and answer, so I can see that a few people have already joined, and thank you for doing that. So if you do have any questions, you can, if you're a subscriber, you can post them in the chat box, and we'll try and deal with as many questions as possible this evening. We'll probably run for about 3/4 of an hour, maybe an hour. Towards the end, I'll just be talking to you about a little special offer that I have in terms of some of the other things I do in terms of supporting doctors around their careers, some of the resources I have, and also talk about some of the upcoming videos that we'll be producing both on this series and some of the other series, which I think will be of interest to some of you viewers. So again, thank you to those who've already joined in on the live stream. And as I say, if you do have a question, please feel free to pop it in the chat box there. And thank you, Dr. Straus. I've got your question, and we'll come up to that. So, and as I said, anyone else wants to post a question, please put it in the chat box. So we'll get started. So the first question, before I do that, I always need to do a bit of a disclaimer here, sorry. I do try my very best to provide you really good, high quality advice and stuff, and I've been doing this sort of work in terms of working in both medical education, medical management, workforce in Australia for many, many years, and I know a lot about the process, but it is a very complicated process and things change over time as well. So I'll try to give you the very best advice, but I would sort of also say that it's not meant to relate to any one individual in particular, and it is always important to know that things do change over time and it's a complex process at times. So I think it's also important for you to seek official advice from places like the Medical Board of Australia, Australian Medical Council, etc., as well as get some expert advice as well on any questions that you might have too in terms of particular circumstances. So first question was from Manu, and this was on YouTube in relation to one of the videos we posted. And so the question was about being an MBBS graduate. What if you are just an MBBS graduate, what if you want to work as a doctor in Australia and continue the diploma here? What's the procedure? How hard is it to be in the medical field here in Australia? And this is sort of typical of some of the questions I've been getting. So firstly, again, it's when we talk about certain language here in Australia about things like diplomas, I'm presuming here Manu was talking about getting a diploma as a specialist. Thank you, Dr. Straus. So apparently my voice is echoing a little bit. I might just turn down the gain here a little bit for you guys. Let me know if that's better for you. Sorry, I do apologise, I'm a bit fluey tonight as well. This is a typical question that many people have. So when we talk about diplomas here in Australia, we're usually talking about fellowships at our colleges, which is the process to getting into the specialty in Australia. So when you've just got your basic medical degree, and you will have to be from one of those recognised medical schools, which are many, but you do need to check that on the World Directory of Medical Schools. Really what you're aiming for is to come through the standard pathway if that's your intention, unless you're from one of the what we call competent authority countries in which case it's a bit more of a streamlined process. So let's say you're from India, for example, and you've got an MBBS, then yes, you'll be wanting to come here if you're intending to work in Australia. You'll be going through the standard pathway process, and that includes sitting the two parts, the Australian Medical Council certificate process, the multiple choice exam, and then the clinical exam. After you do that and then get your first position provisionally registered in Australia, you're then aiming towards to get your general registration, usually within 12 months, and then you're able to start to apply for secondary training with certain colleges. Some of that depends on whether you have permanent residency or citizenship, but in terms of some of the colleges, but generally that's the process, and it is quite difficult. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of doctors here in Australia who are going through that standard pathway process. A number of people with the Part 1 AMC exam. So if you get to the second part of your AMC, that usually helps to stand you out quite a bit. So that was a question from Manu. Noah also asked the question about could I explain a bit further on the standard pathway and how to obtain provisional registration. Having passed their AMC CAT, that's the MCQ exam Part 1, and was told to secure a job before approaching ARPA for registration. So the last video was on the standard pathway, 25 minutes worth, and I took you through the various steps, including how to register the AMC, get your primary medical qualifications checked through the ECFMG, if I'm getting that normally correct, and then going through the process of registering with the AMC, their MCQ process, the clinical process, etc. So I'm not going to go back over that because that's comprehensively done in that video. This issue around being told by ARPA to secure a job before approaching them is quite true. Really, ARPA is, that's AHPRA, Australian Health Practitioners Regulation Agency. ARPA can only, in these circumstances, give you registration if there is a job that offers the sort of supervision that they require as part of that pathway. So yes, it is true that you need to secure a job. So what you're doing is applying for jobs, and I'll show you in the video how to look for opportunities or jobs that might be suitable, but you're looking for a job that offers you that opportunity to obtain a provisional registration and supervision. So usually it's, in these circumstances, it's what's called a level 1 supervision relationship, where there are at all times someone will see a medical practitioner around to supervise your practice. Then on Reddit we had a question, again, what exactly is the process for coming to Australia as an IMG when you've graduated from a non-Australian or New Zealand medical school? What types of jobs can a recently graduated IMG get, as they won't have completed an internship? And hence ineligible for any specialty positions. Do you need to complete a valid internship already? Is it different if the IMG is already an Australian resident or citizen? So there's a lot of questions in there. I'll just break it down a little bit. Obviously, again, talked in previous videos about the process for IMGs when you're not from Australian or New Zealand medical school, or not from one of those competent authority countries systems. So it's to come through the AMC pathway, the standard pathway. What type of jobs can you get? Look, they're really in that internship-like role. So often these are resident medical officer jobs or hospital medical officer jobs. It really, again, it's very confusing because each state has different titles, so you just kind of need to know what sort of titles to look for, and then you need to go and look at the jobs themselves and see at what level will you be working. And you're usually looking for something that's at that postgraduate year 2 level, the year after internship, because intern positions are reserved for Australian and New Zealand graduates, and that confuses a lot of people coming here because unfortunately sometimes the language from groups like ARPA adds to that confusion, because you're told that you need an internship-like experience, but that doesn't mean that you can apply for an intern position. So you need to know what the sort of job titles are, and then look at the details of those jobs. often what you're looking for is situations where hospitals have filled up their internship positions and they've recruited to their second year positions and are a bit scarce and there's no opportunity for those hospitals to fill up, and they've tried to get residents from the local pool already from Australia and New Zealand, or the doctors with general registration already, and so they're looking to fill gaps in the roster, and they are the sort of jobs that are really the ones that can get filled by people with coming through the standard pathway. So the question is, do you need to have completed a valid internship already? Not necessarily, because it is about, and that's confusing too, because with the competent authority one pathway, you do have to complete a general registration in your own country, but if you're coming to the standard pathway, you can come through that not having completed your internship in your own country. However, I would say that will, whilst that might be okay from the medical board perspective, often employers may look at that and think that's a bit odd and wonder why you didn't complete your internship in your own country and get general registration. That may cause them to ask a few more questions. So I have had experience where people have done like a part internship and come here and able to get a job through that process, but it is a little unusual. And then the question is, the process any different if you are an Australian resident or citizen? Yes, the big difference there is that the rule in Australia is that jobs have to go to any suitably qualified permanent resident or citizen. So if you've already got your residency and citizenship, that will lift you up quite a bit in terms of the eligibility of these positions. But again, it has to be one of those positions where it is suitable for provisional registration. So that will be an advantage to you. So the next question is from Agatha. I'm an overseas trained doctor, so I'll just take a drink of water here. I have to say that after working for a year in emergency medicine in Australia, he's going to be eligible for general registration, but there's some visa issues and hasn't had enough experience for general practice. So the basic question there is, can he or she apply for general practice? And look, generally not these days. There was a pathway where you can come into provisional registration positions with limited general practice experience. That has changed recently, and in most cases I'm looking for people who've got at least 5 years of general practice experience. It doesn't have to be, because not all countries have this concept of general practice, so it can be like areas of medicine, but really actually you would be better off applying for hospital jobs and maybe thinking then sort of getting jobs that are maybe still in the medicine field whilst trying to sort out your visa issues there. Then a question from Eli, a question about the English requirements. So I've had a few people discuss this, posted a video posted about that. Sometimes people fail in certain parts of the English tests, so the question is, what sort of advice would you give about that? Look, some of these tests I think are more, they do reflect cultural issues, and the OET is one of those because it is calibrated for the Australian environment, as I understand it. I've heard criticism of all the tests, the IELTS, the OET, the other two. I think my best piece of advice is sometimes if you're struggling with one test, maybe try one of the other ones. And that may work a little bit better for you. And then I got a question on one of the groups I was in Facebook about this issue of what's the difference between a resume and a CV, and this kind of gave me pause because I think it is a confusing issue, and so much so that I have actually done a video on this particular topic. So I won't go into this in huge detail, but I think one of the problems is that to keep it simple, a CV is a comprehensive list of your career. It should include a lot of details about all the jobs you worked, all the education you had, publications, anything that's relevant to the job process. That's the official version of what a curriculum vitae is, whereas a resume is kind of a synthesised, shortened version of your career to date, and ought to be tailored towards the job that you're applying for. So you're picking elements and also explaining them in a shorter document. But I think culturally, different countries will like different things. In North America, they're very keen. It seems like a 2-page resume that really synthesises things. And if you can't put it on 2 pages, then there's a problem. Whereas in a lot of Asian countries, I think what they often request is a fairly lengthy CV. In Australia, the employers tend to ask for a CV, but that's not what they really want, or what they really mean. And I think what they're actually asking for, what I know they're often asking for, is kind of a summarised CV. It's something generally a little bit longer than a resume, but probably closer to a resume. And so I think that probably confuses a number of doctors coming from overseas, because they get asked for a CV, so they submit a fairly lengthy list of things, and that's not what the employer is actually looking for. So my best piece of advice there is to sort of try and qualify, or with the employer, what sort of document they're seeking, how long, what sort of things they're wanting to see on it, and then go and watch some of the videos that I've made about this issue, about how to write a standout CV, because they kind of give you the framework for what the employers are looking for here. It's more like a resume, really, than a technical, what a technically a CV actually is. So there'll be a video coming out shortly about that that explains it in a little bit more detail. Question from Darren. What are the pitfalls you've seen in IMGs transitioning to Australia from their home country? What would you recommend IMGs do to increase the chances of getting a job in Australia, excluding internship in their own country, for example, with additional courses, the number of years of medical officer posts, etc. So, pitfalls. Look, there are many. I think one of the common pitfalls is not being prepared for some of the cultural differences. I think a lot of doctors, you see a lot of doctors apply for jobs here in Australia who've already moved country already, and generally what you see is those people are actually quite adaptable. Because they've been through it once, they can usually go through it again. In some cases, doctors, if they've not been out of their own country previously or something like that, then that may be a real problem. Particularly if you're not from a country where English is commonly spoken, or maybe it's spoken in a different way, even maybe from the United Kingdom or places like that. There are issues around the language in Australia that can trip people up, and some of the cultural jargon, etc. So some of that can be quite difficult initially, so it's worth being aware of that and even preparing yourself for that if you're coming here and you've already got a job lined up. Sometimes you have to rely on the local staff to be a bit of a translator for you. Even if you're having a good English conversation with someone, the jargon and just the patience sometimes use can be a bit confusing for you. So I think it's the cultural change, it's the language, like some of the pitfalls. Not doing your research about the job that you're going to, particularly if it's in a rural regional area in terms of what else is available. I've certainly had some doctors who've had issues, for example, coming out with their family and the disappointment with the education that might be available for their kids or something like that. So doing proper research about living in the place that you're going to as well, I think. So there's some of the pitfalls I've seen. In terms of what I'd recommend you do, and hi there Dennis, thanks for your question there. So I might come back to that question short at the end. So in terms of what I recommend IMGs do to increase their likelihood of getting a job in Australia, I don't think doing additional courses is particularly necessary. Experience does help, particularly it really does depend on your circumstances, however. So obviously if you're a specialist in your own right, in your own country, in certain specialties that are in demand here in Australia, that is going to be a big advantage. Psychiatry is one of them. That's what field that I come from, and certainly have a lot of area of need positions for psychiatrists, but there are other specialties as well. So if you can get to that point, that can be a big advantage. But if you're halfway, or doing additional courses, I don't think are a huge particular advantage. Experience can help, but there's probably a point where if you're coming particularly through the standard pathway, where if you've got lots and lots of experience in many, many years, it starts to become a disadvantage, because often what happens when you interview doctors who've been working for a number of years and applying for one of those resident level type jobs is they struggle to sort of answer questions the way a local resident might answer them, and probably don't display that sort of understanding of what your role in the team might be. So there's a disadvantage because it may take you not just a lot of new learning, but also a lot of unlearning to be able to transition to one of those roles. So often you see doctors who've had lots of experience struggle more cracking a job. So hi there, Llewellyn. Thanks for your question there. So we'll come to that as well. So alternative options for IMG doctors with permanent residency in Australia. So I wanted to just take Dennis's and Llewellyn's question. So Dennis, how to apply for hospital positions after passing the AMC1, and alternative options for IMG doctors with permanent residency in Australia. So, as I said, in the last video I did, which was on the standard pathway, I might stick a link in the description when this video is finished. We talked about how to apply for those positions. So, the key things are, if you've only got your AMC Part 1, be aware that there will be a number of other people with the AMC Part 1 competing against you for limited jobs. If also you do have the permanent residency, that does provide an advantage even if you've got the Part 1, because if you and another person with Part 1 are deemed eligible for the job, and that person doesn't have permanent residency, well, the rules in Australia is that the position should be offered to you. So that's a good thing, and some of the other things like getting into general practice training, depending on your qualifications, improve as well. So permanent residency is helpful in terms of where you stand in terms of being able to be eligible for jobs. In terms of where you find the job status, as I said, the video covered that a bit, but the key things are, be aware there are certain times of the year where the hospitals are looking to fill up rosters because they've lost people, and so they tend to be around now after the annual medical recruitment cycle, which is between May and about end of September. So now when they're realising people have accepted offers but they declined them, and all of a sudden they've got gaps in the eligibility list is vacant, they may be recruiting. Similarly, around about March every year, once people settled into their new jobs and people are starting to drop out, they may be recruiting to positions. And if they get to the point where they can't get local doctors with the general registration to fill jobs, that's when they consider taking on international medical graduates. And they will be looking at, yes, they'll be looking at people from competent authority pathways, but also they'll be looking at people that are eligible for provisional registration through the standard pathway process. So the times of the year are important. You need to think about looking in rural and regional areas, because the hospitals fill in from the extremities to the middle. So the big hospitals in Sydney and Melbourne don't have a problem if there's a gap in their roster. They'll just advertise and they'll find a position and find someone suitable from another hospital, maybe in the periphery of the big city, and then that hospital will advertise and I'll pull someone in from a bit further out, and it just all fills into the major places. So yes, occasionally you can crack a job at a big city hospital, but you're much more likely to find that there are employers that are willing to even talk to you in the sort of regional cities and particularly the rural locations. So the times of the year are important. Looking outside the big cities is important. And then sometimes there will be jobs that you can see posted in the online recruitment systems. Most states now go through a centralised, so most hospitals now go through their state systems. You need to know what those recruitment web pages are, and I've posted some of those on the previous video. I'll try and find a few more when I get an opportunity for everyone. So you can often search for jobs there and look for ones that indicate that they'll be suitable for someone needing provisional registration. But more often than not, there may not be any jobs that you can find, but you then should also make a note of anyone who's advertising jobs at those sort of levels and going to some of the other sites where what we call the JOMO managers are listed, and getting their contact details and thinking about sending in your CV or resume to them, just on the off chance that they're looking for people or they're thinking about recruiting. So making a list of contacts and again trying to sort of get in front of as many of them as possible, showing that you're keen and interested. So those are kind of the big tips, because sometimes when there are suitable jobs, they're posted pretty quickly, and if you've kind of already made contact with some of those managers, then they may likely give you a heads up as well. So hopefully that helps you. So it is difficult because there are a number of people competing for those jobs, particularly only if you've got AMC Part 1. And you know that you can improve your chances, particularly if you're prepared to sort of look outside the bigger cities. Arun, I think you just posted a message about hi there, Arun, maybe you're going to repost a message there, but I think it was on a similar topic there. So thanks for those questions. I just realised I have got your question, but I thought we'd just sort of tackle that while we're on this one. I think we've answered Darren's question there as well. I know Darren's following me, and hopefully, if I haven't, maybe some of the upcoming videos might help it as well. I had a question from Anna, who's a psychiatrist working in India. I think you're going through area of need, not area of need, or specialist pathway. And I want to know about that. So again, I will do a video around the specialist pathway, and I've talked about area of need in a previous video. They are kind of linked concepts, so there is area of need. It used to be area of need for non-specialists, and I guess in a sense some of the area of need jobs for general practice are for trainees, so not qualified specialists. But general practice in Australia is a specialty. But generally area of need now, the system is essentially for the people going through specialist pathways. So the first thing is you need to have specialist qualifications, and what you basically do is you have a look for where area of need jobs are, and again, because they're operated by the state governments, they're advertised in different ways for different states, so it's confusing and it can be hard to find them sometimes. But if you can identify some of those spots, then you can start talking to employers about your interest in those. That's probably the starting point. But in terms of your process of getting registered, essentially you do have to do a little bit with the AMC. You have to go through them to prove your primary medical qualification. But basically it's a process of engaging with the relevant specialty college. So in this case it would be the Royal Australian New Zealand College of Psychiatrists, my college. And they will assess your qualifications and your experience and basically measure up against what a psychiatrist in Australia will do, and then give you an outcome in terms of whether they think you can take up one of these positions, and also then what sort of extra upskilling you might need to do before you can get full registration. So you'd be granted limited registration to work in that specialty while that process is happening. So I will do a more comprehensive video around that. Yes, thanks, Sharon. My voice is echoing. I'm not sure that I can do too much about it. This is my first time using OBS, so I do apologise for the quality if there's an issue there. I've checked it out at my end. So I'll hopefully try and do some work on that the next time I do a video. So the question from Arun was, what are the chances of getting a job just after AMC Part 1 English exams? If so, how can someone apply for that? So we have just talked about that. You can apply for jobs, but you are competing against a number of other people who've also got the AMC Part 1 and English exams. So that's kind of the basic requirement to apply for these provisional registration jobs. So there will be, for many jobs, there will be hundreds of other people putting in applications. So you can improve your chances by getting the Part 2 AMC done. I think that massively improves people's chances because the employers then look at you and realise that if they give you a job for provisional registration for a year, it's really a case of completing that satisfactorily and you've got no other exams required to do. So that means that they might then have someone that they can then employ in more senior roles the following year. So again, particularly in rural and regional areas, having some good residents around that can fill gaps not just for 12 months but longer is a significant advantage. So those with the AMC certificate tend to will get better rated. So that's probably the best way of improving your chances there. So I do apologise for my echoey voice. We'll just keep pushing through though. So Raz, this was the question originally to me about teaching and your Masters of Public Health. So can you tell me if teaching and research work will be considered, what should I do for the residency of practice, when should I apply for AMC, before or after the PhD, or should I apply for the public health specialist pathway after the PhD? What would be most suitable? So to answer your question about public health research and medicine teaching experiences, no, it generally will not be counted towards a recency of practice. What they're looking for there is recency of clinical practice, so that's not going to be particularly useful to you. Masters of Public Health, so doctors doing that still are generally registered with the medical board, so again, it's not that you can do, I mean, you might be able to get a job working in public health, but it won't be as a doctor. If you've got your masters, that might help you get a job like that, but it won't be a doctor, a doctor job, so it will be at a lower pay rate. So I think my advice there is, in most cases, pretty much every case, the sooner you get onto your AMC process, the better. And you can sit your AMC multiple choice exam even from outside the country, so there are centres that you can go to in other parts of the world to do it. And then obviously you've got the clinical process, and there can be a bit of a backlog for that. So the quicker you get your Part 1s done, the quicker you then can get into the queue for the Part 2. And that's really the key to all of this, really. So I'd certainly recommend that you look into doing your AMC process now rather than delay. I realise sometimes you've got to balance the academia of doing a PhD, etc. But if your goal is to get a doctor job and get generally registered, then the quicker you go through the AMC process, the better it's going to be. So hopefully that does clarify things for you. Another question about work experience in certain countries given a higher priority, excluding competent authority countries. So I don't see any particular advantage in where you're coming from if you're not from a competent authority country, particularly if we're talking again about the standard pathway process. So really, take-home message doesn't really matter if you worked in France or Russia or India or Pakistan. Wherever it is, that's not going to be the issue. It's more about what your English is like and how you present otherwise and how far through the AMC process you've come. Question from Anonymous. What are the best recruitment agencies for IG? Did anyone try to go through them? I did post this in one of the groups that I support. Didn't get any feedback from anyone else who might have tried a recruitment agency. The first answer is that there are a number of good recruitment agencies, and I will post some links to them when I get an opportunity in this video, and we might even do a video about that at a later date specifically. They probably are more of an option if you're going through specialist pathways, so going back to that area of need thing. Often the recruitment agencies are aware of what the area of need vacancies are and can really help you to find them. So if you're a specialist, they can often be very useful. Similarly, if you're eligible for the competent authority process, so able to sort of fill in a specialty training position here in particular, or even a resident position coming through competent authority, the recruitment agencies are often very keen to talk to you. But probably not going to be able to help someone who's just heading into the AMC process or has completed their part one, just because there are so many doctors in that boat, and the good ones, the honest ones, will probably tell you that they're not probably going to be able to help you any more than if you were able to just go through the process on your own. And I think this is the last question, and we've kind of talked about this already. So this is obviously the key question for many people: how do we go about finding a suitable first-time position? So we've got that from at least 3 people offline and about 3 people tonight as well, I guess. So as I said, I think the key things are it is hard. If we're talking about standard pathway, knowing the pathway and what you have to do is important, and trying to get yourself all the way through is also important. Not giving up. I mean, yes, you might get lucky, you get a job where you've got your AC Part 1, but keeping on with the Part 2 process and aiming for that certificate is really what you need to be doing. Yes, you can be applying for jobs in the meantime, and hope, maybe you do get lucky and get a position which opens up another opportunity for your AMC certificate, which I've talked about in the standard pathway video, because there are certain hospitals where you can do workplace-based assessment rather than the clinical exam. But really, you've got to just your goal needs to be completing the AMC certificate. That's the first point. Then, as I said, the key thing is to know how it works. It can be confusing. You need to make a big list. Maybe get some help from people who have been through the process before. Know where all the recruitment portals are for each state and territory. Be watching them regularly for suitable positions that might come up, but also making lists of the managers at hospitals who regularly advertise the sort of junior doctor level posts, and try and keep in contact with them, if possible, even trying to get a meeting with a JMO manager. And as I said, you're more likely to get a good reception in a regional city or a rural location. The big major city hospitals, and I think this is kind of key advice I give to a lot of IMGs that are even here in Australia. You're going to be very, very lucky to get a job at a Royal Prince Alfred or Royal Melbourne Hospital or St Vincent's or something like that. They have no trouble filling vacant jobs with other doctors who already have their general registration. It might be sort of Bankstown hospitals in Sydney, like in the regional periphery of Sydney, or as I said, in regional cities like Geelong, Newcastle, where I'm from, or even more likely rural locations, Ballarat, Bundaberg, Tamworth. These are not places that are like 500 people. They're quite big. Those are all cities as well. So it's not as if you've got a lot of things in those places, but and the hospitals are quite big, and there'll be a lot of support there for you. But these are the places where IMGs generally find it easy to find positions. I think the struggle is a lot of people want to, or for very good reasons, are based in a place like Sydney or Melbourne and sort of reluctant to make the move to a smaller location. But often, if your goal is to do that, then, as I say, that's where often the jobs are. And then knowing the times of the year when these positions might become vacant as well is important. Hi there, Chirac. How can you find a hospital for workplace-based assessment? I believe there are 4 sites now. There's the first one is in here in Newcastle, Hunter, New England network, and then there's I think 3 other sites around the country. So again, I can maybe I can't remember the other sites off the top of my head, so I can post some information for you about that. As I said though, you have to get a job at that hospital. So some people think that you can do workplace-based assessment at those sites without a job, but you have to actually be given a job first. So you have to be lucky enough for that to occur too. So they are good locations though to keep on your list, I guess, because if you can get a job as someone who's got AFC Part 1, then generally you can get into the workplace-based assessment program, which is an alternative to the AFC clinical exams, and it's just as rigorous. But a lot of people do find it that they do get through that process versus people might have to sit the clinicals a few times. I think part of the issue though is you're going to have to be good to get one of those jobs in the first place, so they're selecting people that are already probably capable of passing the workplace-based assessment. So that probably explains the success a little bit of that program too. So look, Newcastle's one of them, but I'll find the other 3. So I think there's 3 other sites in the country, and I'll list them in the comments box below. And if people have other questions after this video, by the way, then please continue the conversation and post the comments below, because this chat box disappears as well. If I haven't answered your question completely and come back to this, please put another question there or another comment about things. If anything I've said sort of differs from what you've been told, I'd be interested to know as well. People might have a few more questions, and we've got a few more minutes left, so please stick them in the chat box. But that's the end of all the questions I collected. I just wanted to sort of remind you that I think a number of the people watching tonight are subscribers, but please subscribe, because I'm doing a video at least every week around a lot of issues. Some of the videos I do are for trainees currently in Australia, also for medical students and even senior doctors, etc. But just a reminder that we've now got, this will be the 6th in the series for international medical graduates. So we've covered things like the English requirements, the general registration categories, district workforce shortage and area of need, which sort of talks about where some of the specialist jobs are, and then the standard pathway, and some tips for IMGs thinking of coming to Australia. Similarly, some of the other videos I do, like the job interview, are really helpful, I think, for your understanding what the process tends to be here in Australia. And the CV video, definitely, I would recommend that if you're sort of wondering what your CV should look like. So that's the one on the bottom there. So subscribe to the channel and have a look at some of the other videos, because I think they might answer some of your questions. Excuse me, I've got a throaty voice here. So explaining about the specialist pathway, so I did, when you watch this video back, you'll see I did spend a bit of time talking about that. And I will publish a future video about it, but basically you need to be specialty qualified in your own country. You apply to the relevant specialty college here in Australia. You also have to have your primary, like your medical degree, checked out by the AHC through a similar process to the standard pathway, but it's going through the specialty college. Usually it's helpful to have a job offer or an employer interested in you first before you do that. So the college looks at things. In the case of neonatology, so that you would be applying to the College of Physicians. So the Royal Australian College of Physicians both deals with adult medicine as well as paediatric medicine. So you'd be applying to the paediatric part of the Royal Australian College of Physicians. Neonatology is probably one of those areas where there is a bit of an interest in having specialists, because they're often difficult positions to fill, particularly in a lot of areas. Getting the roster for intensive care units for neonates covered can be quite tricky. So you may find that if you have those qualifications, you might find that there might be some area need type jobs available, or indeed you might find that one of these recruitment agencies is interested in hearing from you. But yes, you go to the College of Physicians, that will be the first place that you approach. So I know all the college websites, and again they will all differ because each website, each college is different. There's meant to be somewhere that you can go to find out about how you go about applying, to be assessed by them, and fill in some forms and get the process happening. There's more than a dozen colleges in Australia, so each one does things slightly differently. But if you go to the homepage of the College of Physicians, then there should be some links there that sort of guide you in terms of, if you're an international medical graduate specialist, what do you do in terms of getting your qualifications assessed. So yes, look, have a look at some of the other videos that I've posted, because I think that answers some of the questions as well. If you've got topics for future videos that you'd like to see, please post them in the comment sections, or catch up with me on my various social media channels, and we'll try and get your questions answered. Yes, so Karen, if you finish your Masters in India and done neonatology, you're best off applying to the RACP, or at least contacting them to find out what next to do. So just quickly, I do run some courses that help both local doctors and international doctors with the job application process here. By the way, I can afford to do some of this YouTube stuff and establish a website. For anyone who's watched this video, I've just got a special offer at the moment that you can buy the job application skills bundle, which gives you the CV course, the job application course, and interview skills course. There's over about 3 hours worth of video content in those courses in terms of instructing you on some of the best practice in Australia in terms of doing this sort of thing. You can get 20% off using that coupon, TakeOff20, if you're interested in getting some assistance in that way. So check that out. And the link is academy.advancedmed.com.au. So that's something else we're offering. And in terms of some of the videos that I'm going to try and tackle in the next couple of months, things that may be of interest to you, we'll try and cover the competent authority pathway and specialist pathway, just to round everything off. As I said, I've got a video in the pipeline about the difference between a resume and a CV, and the trick there in the fact that most Australian employers ask for a CV, but they don't really want a comprehensive CV. Also some videos about some of the transitions to registrars, which is what we call specialty trainees here, as well as internships. And I have done a few videos on dealing with difficult bosses in medicine, and it's a bit of a passion of mine in terms of improving the practice of our leaders and managers in medicine, so we'll be coming back to do a few more on that series as well over the next few months. So that's what we've got coming up, so a good reason to subscribe. So that's the end of our live stream. So as I said, if you haven't subscribed already, I really encourage you to do that. Please leave a like if this video helped you and you liked it, and tell other people that you may know that are thinking about medicine in Australia about the channel, because we're trying to grow the channel, and I want to get as much of this information out to as many people as possible. Can I make a detailed video about workplace-based assessment? Yes, I can try and put that on the list. Certainly that's not a problem, that's something I can do. No problems. We'll chuck that down the list. I probably will be going back to doing some videos for trainees and specialists here as well, because I've got other people that follow me, so to mix it up a bit, but hopefully we'll get there at some point in time, but that's a good idea. So thank you very much for watching tonight. So don't forget the offer there, the Take Off 20 for the Job Skills Bundle. And if anyone's got any questions later, then you can pop them in the comments box, or you can contact me on Twitter on Career Dr. Anthony. That's C-A-R-D-R Anthony, or Facebook on Advancing AU. That's my organisation, and obviously on the channel here as well. And thank you for the following. And we've had some massive growth in the channel over the last month or so. So I really appreciate the support. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.